Lewis Hamilton got his 104th win in his racing career and his first win since the 2021 Saudi Grand Prix, and he made all the Formula One fans really happy by doing it at his home track in Silverstone. It shows a lot about where Mercedes is right. Now, even though Russell had to quit the race because of what looked like a cooling problem which might put a dark cloud over what Hamilton had been waiting for so long, Mercedes winning 2 races one after the other is definitely the news that we'd love to hear. So could we see this happen a lot more in 2024? And more importantly, how will this change the entire racing lineup for the rest of the season? It's obvious that every F1 fan cried happy tears seeing Hamilton win his first race. After such a long time of waiting where he had to deal with so many car design changes and painful bouncing problems, until he finally got a car that could compete even though the race was messed up by lots of strategy planning, rain, and lots of tire management on parts where the track was really wet, like in the first few corners where both Mercedes cars went off track and got passed by both McLaren cars. Because of this, the speed of the W5 car was definitely there and you could see it from the first day of the weekend. Even though Hamilton wasn't as hopeful as you would normally expect when it comes to fighting the top teams like McLaren and Red Bull on pure speed, it turned out that Mercedes gave the drivers a rocket ship of a car package, and you could easily understand what Allison meant when he said, how could we be so stupid and miss what's been right in front of our faces the whole time? No matter what, Mercedes is now hunting to pass a couple of teams ahead of them for the rest of 2024, and with the whole second half of the season in front of them, plus Hungary and Spa before the summer break, which are 2 of Hamilton's favorite tracks, we might see a fight for second place in the team championship sooner than expected. What's really important to mention here is that on the first part of the race with the medium tires, the Mercedes cars were looking really good, with both of them managing to keep staying behind other cars steadily. Of course, every driver on the track knew that the weather would be crazy, and that means the tires were saved for as long as they could be to get a huge advantage once all the chaos started. But still, Verstappen found himself in a tough spot when it came to getting close to Hamilton in a fight for second place. Not only that, but when both McLaren cars got past the Dutch driver, they also needed the help of the slippery track to close the gap and get past the Silver Arrow, which shows that on pure speed Mercedes might be back in the fight, as they're now definitely ahead of Ferrari, who came into this race with the older spec car because they weren't happy with the upgrades they brought a few races ago. If we look at this chart, we would see that Mercedes was the fastest car on the track throughout the entire race, which means that whatever tire they put on it was sure to work perfectly well for them. It's pretty amazing that McLaren has had the best car in the past few weekends, but more specifically, ever since Miami. But the Woking team has failed to win a race ever since, and with Mercedes winning the last 2 races, they're definitely back in the fight to have a strong finish in the Drivers' Championship as well as a real shot at second place in the Team Championship. But with all the drama and mess happening in Red Bull, the top 4 teams are all so close now in the team standings that we might be looking at a real fight until the very last race of the season, at least in this category. And we couldn't be happier that Mercedes joined the fight too after so many struggles in the past few years. When talking about the Silverstone result overall, Hamilton couldn't hide the tears in his voice, as well as during the press meeting, as the 7-time world champion and the main guy with the most wins on this track. As of today, 9 went on to say, "I can't stop crying. It's been since 2021. Just every day getting up, trying to fight, to train, to put my mind to the job and working as hard as I can with this amazing team. This is my last race here at the British Grand Prix with this team, so I wanted to win it so much for them because I love them. I appreciate them so much for all the hard work they've been putting in all these years. I'm forever grateful to everyone on this team, everyone at Mercedes and all our partners. The most important thing for Mercedes right now is that they do have a very competitive car and 2 very competitive drivers inside of it. And if it wasn't for Russell's car breaking down, maybe we could have seen both British drivers on the podium, as he was gaining a lot of speed on Verstappen before he was called into the pit lane to stop racing. Of course, there are always what-ifs in this sport, and we could have easily said that it would have been a 1-2 finish for McLaren if it wasn't for the rain and messed up strategy. But the massive undercut that Hamilton managed to pull on Norris in the final parts of the race show that the Silver Arrow still has it when it comes to making the right moves at the right time, and this is something they can use to gain a lot of momentum against the top teams, especially Ferrari. Ever since Miami, which was 6 rounds ago, 3 teams managed to win a race, and Mercedes is second on that list with 2 wins, even though we could put a big question mark on the Austrian win, as Russell just took what was given to him on a plate. Still having 2 wins in this time period is definitely something that you could have only dreamed about a few years ago, and the fact that Mercedes haven't won 2 races in a season, let alone back-to-back ones ever since 2021, shows what massive progress they've made in the past few years, especially in 2023, and they should be praising the work that James Allison has been doing ever since he came back to lead the technical team, even though Norris didn't win the race and lost second place to Verstappen, leading to yet another extension of the championship lead of the 3-time world champion. McLaren is the team that went home with the most points, 27, proving that the team championship is everything to fight for. This is where Mercedes would be willing to join the competition given the fact that Red Bull is more or less a one-man show with yet another terrible showing from qualifying to the race result. Overall, we are now headed into one of Hamilton's favorite races, Hungary, the one where he managed to get pole position last year with a much worse car than what he has in his hands now, and if Mercedes managed to get the third win in a row, it would definitely make things a lot more interesting for the second half of the season. Of course, it's worth mentioning that we cannot always count on Russell being called into the pits and the weather playing such a huge role in a race, but what we can count on is the speed of Red Bull. Despite having a brand new floor with zero damage on it, Verstappen still failed to challenge the top of the grid in a proper way and only came close in the last part where the mastermind of Hannah Schmitz came alive again thanks to her amazing strategy calls. Likewise, we cannot always count on Verstappen's power to make it work with a worse car, but what we can count on is the continued struggle in Ferrari now that the Maranello team has failed to score points with Leclerc in the second race in a row, which is something of a warning sign for Hamilton himself, given the fact that he'll be joining this team next year. Obviously, the cars won't change that much in the next season and the big shakeup would happen in 2026, but with Mercedes understanding the main problems as well as where they need to add more lap time in 2023, it's safe to assume that Hamilton may be questioning his decision to join the Maranello team now that the picture is looking totally different for these two teams. Right now, Mercedes is at 221 points in the team championship and around 80 points behind Ferrari in second place, and the fact that Red Bull are only 70 points further ahead shows that they are easily catchable if these good weekends continue throughout the rest of 2024. With all of this in mind, do you think that Hamilton and Russell will continue on the straight path that the team has drawn for themselves in 2024? And more importantly, do you think they have a real shot at winning more races for the rest of the season? Let us know in the comments below. And once you do that, make sure to click on the video that's appearing on your screen right now.